In a recorded video journal, neurologist Jung-won appears shaken. Her voice trembles as she reveals the truth. Her latest patient is her own younger sister, Eun-seo. After their parents died in a tragic accident, the two sisters moved into an old house, hoping for a fresh start. But what awaited them was far from peace. Soon after moving in, Eun-seo began showing disturbing neurological symptoms. At first, it seemed like grief and stress, especially with an intense dance audition looming. But during a routine checkup, everything changed. The air grew cold, objects moved on their own, and Eun-seo spoke in a voice that wasn't hers. That moment marked the start of something far darker, something supernatural. The scene cuts to a small, quiet office tucked away in Seoul, the headquarters of a low-profile ghost hunting team. The day begins like any other until a high-ranking police officer, Captain Choi, walks in. He's not alone. With him is a middle-aged man named Do-sik, desperate and visibly shaken. Inside, two team members, Sharon and Kim-gun, greet them. Not long after, the agency's leader, Bae-woo, arrives. Calm but alert, he immediately picks up on the fear in Do-sik's eyes. Something serious has brought them here. At that moment, Do-sik begs for help. His daughter Soo-jin has vanished without a trace, gone for days with no word. At first, Bae-woo is ready to turn him down. Missing persons aren't part of his job. But then Captain Choi speaks up, and the truth is far worse than anyone expected. Soo-jin isn't just missing. She's being held inside the base of a ruthless gang buried deep in Seoul's underworld. This isn't an ordinary gang, it's a cult. They worship demons, perform dark rituals, and use human lives as offerings. The last police unit that tried to shut them down were eliminated. Faced with the horror, Bae-woo agrees, but before leaving, he slips an envelope of cash to Captain Choi, a quiet reminder that Choi works both sides, helping funnel cases to Bae-woo's team from within the police force. The deal is sealed. Now the team gears up, every tool, every weapon, ready for the deadly mission ahead. At the same time, across the country, chaos spreads. Gang violence erupts in city after city, more savage and unnatural than ever. Attackers move with inhuman strength, as if possessed. Police begin to fear the worst, that demonic forces are behind the madness. South Korea is on the edge, and something evil is rising fast. With no options left, the authorities turn to Father Marco, a seasoned priest with a reputation for dealing with the supernatural. But even he refuses to face this threat alone. This isn't a job for ordinary men. It requires experts. It requires Bae-woo and his team. The team finally reaches the gang's hidden lair. Inside, they find a nightmare. The room is filled with unconscious teenagers, victims of heavy drug use. The air is thick with chemicals. Shadows stretch across the filthy walls, and at the center of it all, Soo-jin, barely conscious, lies on a ritual altar. Her body shakes, her eyes are lifeless. She's possessed. The team moves fast. Each has a role. Kim-gun documents everything, recording footage for proof. Sharon takes position as the spiritual lead, preparing her tools for a full exorcism. Bae-woo stands ready, the enforcer. Suddenly, the cult's guards attack. A brutal fight erupts. Bae-woo charges in, taking them down with sheer force. His strikes are precise and punishing. As the battle rages, Sharon begins the exorcism. Her voice is steady, her focus sharp. Slowly, the demon is forced out of Soo-jin's body. Once she's safe, Bae-woo doesn't hesitate. Fueled by fury, he torches the altar, burning every last symbol and relic of the cult. Before the team leaves, Kim-gun spots something unusual, a strange tattoo on the neck of one of the unconscious cult members. He records it. The mark looks ancient, otherworldly. It's a clue, one that hints at a far bigger threat still hiding in the shadows. The story shifts back to the hospital. Jung-won, though buried in work, never misses a visit to her younger sister Eun-seo. But each time she enters that isolation ward, the pain grows. Eun-seo is getting worse. Once full of energy, she now lies still, strapped to the bed for everyone's safety. Her face is pale, blank, her spirit gone. Jung-won, a dedicated doctor, can only stand by, helpless. Then, late one night, something that changes everything happens. Watching the CCTV feed, Jung-won suddenly sees Eun-seo's bed, empty. Seconds earlier, she was there, tightly restrained. Panic sets in. Jung-won rushes to the room, but when she turns around, she's paralyzed. Eun-seo is right behind her, standing still, staring with a cold, empty look. Without saying a word, Eun-seo climbs back into bed as if nothing happened, leaving Jung-won puzzled. From that moment, something shifts in Jung-won. Her belief in science begins to crack. Whatever is happening to her sister, it's no longer something medicine can explain. And from here, there was no turning back. Because this is Holy Night. Demon Hunters. Overwhelmed and out of options, Jung-won finally turns to Father Marco, the hospital's spiritual advisor. Her voice shakes as she lays out every disturbing detail, the strange behavior, the unexplained events, the fear. For the first time, she admits the worst. This might not be a medical problem. After hearing her out, Father Marco gives her one name, Ba Wu, a demon hunter known for taking on the cases no one else can handle. With nothing left to lose, Jung-won sets out to find him, carrying a mix of fear, doubt, and a faint trace of hope. When she arrives, Ba Wu assumes she was sent by Captain Choi, like many before her. He's ready to help without much thought. But when he learns it was Father Marco who referred her, everything changes. His expression turns cold, his tone sharp. Without explanation, he refuses the case on the spot.
그쪽 분들하고 일하지 않습니다. 미안합니다.
Jung-won is stunned. Crushed by the rejection, she struggles to hold back her emotions. But before she leaves, she hands a flash drive to Sharon, a video of Unseo in her current state. It's her last chance, a desperate move to show them just how serious this is. Maybe, once they see the truth for themselves, Ba Wu will reconsider. The next day, Father Marco shows up at Ba Wu's office. The moment he walks in, the air turns heavy. The tension is immediate. These two men share a past, one marked by pain and betrayal. Ba Wu's expression hardens. His anger is clear. No matter how much Father Marco pleads, Ba Wu refuses to help. He won't touch the case. Later, back at the hospital, Father Marco finally tells Jung-won the truth. Years ago, he, Ba Wu, and another boy named Joseph grew up in the same orphanage. They weren't just friends, they were like brothers. Raised by a kind woman named Sister Angela, the three shared everything. But life pulled them in different directions. Marco left early, choosing a life of faith. Ba Wu survived through underground fighting, doing whatever it took to get by. Joseph took a darker path, diving deep into the occult. Then came the night that destroyed everything, Christmas Eve, 15 years ago. As usual, Ba Wu returned to the orphanage to visit Sister Angela and the children. But that night, horror struck. Without warning, Joseph unleashed a devastating act that left no one inside alive, including Sister Angela. The nightmare didn't end there. Joseph did something far worse. He unleashed the demonic force of Lucifer itself, and it took hold of Ba Wu. Possessed and powerless, Ba Wu became berserk, driven by a rage not his own and strength no human should have. When it was over, Joseph disappeared without a trace. Since that day, Ba Wu has lived with rage at Joseph for destroying their family, and at Father Marco for walking away and never coming back. That pain drove him to build the demon hunting agency, not just to fight evil, but to make up for the blood on his hands. Even now, traces of Lucifer's power remain in him. It gives him strength, but at a cost. He spent years trying to bury the past, but it refuses to stay buried. Something inside him begins to shift. Finally, he gives in and watches the video Jung-won left behind. What he sees changes everything. The footage shows Unseo's slow decline after her parents' death. The pressure of a high-stakes dance audition crushed her spirit. Bit by bit, she faded. But the most terrifying part is what comes after. Clear signs of possession, captured on camera. Movements, expressions, a presence that no longer feels human. For Ba Wu, the truth is now undeniable. Something evil is inside her, and it's time to act. At the same time, while reviewing more CCTV footage, Gimgun makes a chilling discovery. Both the landlord of Unseo's home and a janitor who visited often have the same strange tattoo, the exact demonic symbol found on the cult members. The pieces finally come together. Unseo's suffering isn't random. She's been targeted by a much larger, well-organized cult. With the threat now clear, Ba Wu, Sharon, and Father Marco head to the hospital to confront it directly. Inside the isolation ward, Unseo seems calm at first. Her answers are quiet, her expression blank, empty, as if her soul is already gone. But the moment Sharon begins the exorcism, everything changes. The demon erupts. Unseo lashes out with violent supernatural force, hurling everyone against the walls. Chaos explodes inside the ward. In the confusion, she breaks free and escapes, her movements faster than any human. Then, the situation spirals out of control. One by one, patients across the hospital fall under possession, overtaken by the same dark force. It spreads like wildfire. The team struggles to move through the chaos, fighting off wave after wave of possessed patients. Bawu powers through, using his strength to clear a path. In the brief opening, Youngwon races after her sister, just in time to see Unseo vanish into the middle of a crowded road, running straight into danger. Unfortunately, Unseo was no longer herself. The demon had full control, mind, body, and will. In a terrifying act of destruction, she tried to use a speeding, possessed truck to end it all, taking both herself and Youngwon with her. But in the final seconds, Bawu arrived. Moving with blinding speed, he pulled the sisters out of the truck's path, saving their lives by inches. It was now clear the demon's reach was stronger and faster than anyone had expected. It could spread like wildfire, infecting anything in its path. The team had no choice. They had to finish this where it all began, at the house, the place where the nightmare started, and possibly where the evil was born. They brought Unseo back to the abandoned home. Wasting no time, Bawu tied her tightly to a solid wooden chair. She had to be restrained for her own safety and everyone else's. Sharon stepped forward, focused and ready. She warned Youngwon the ritual would be dangerous. It would unfold in 4 intense stages, each riskier than the last. While Sharon prepared the exorcism, Youngwon monitored her sister's vitals with medical gear from the hospital. Bawu surrounded the chair with a thick ring of salt, an essential barrier against the demon's force. Then the ritual began. From the very first phase of the ritual, the demon inside Unseo began its assault, not with brute force, but with psychological attacks. It twisted words, used illusions, and tried to break their focus. Sharon, normally in control during exorcisms, quickly realized this was no ordinary spirit. This demon was smart, deceptive, and far more dangerous than anything they had faced before. Then, chaos erupted outside. Bawu rushed out to investigate the noise. What he found was worse than expected: a large group of cult members, heavily armed and ready for war. They had returned, determined to stop the exorcism and protect the demon. With no time to hesitate, Bawu charged into battle. Outnumbered but unstoppable, he fought through the mob using everything he had: his raw power, his combat training, and the lingering strength of the dark force within him. After a brutal, exhausting fight, Bawu forced his way back into the house. But inside, a new nightmare was waiting. Youngwon sat beside her sister, her face full of sadness and fear. But something was off: her eyes, her posture. It was clear. The demon had found a new host. Youngwon was now possessed. Sharon, relying on her sharp instincts, quickly realized the demon inside Youngwon wasn't the main one. They were dealing with a second entity. This one was smaller, controlled by the primary demon still locked inside Unseo. Acting fast, Sharon used her skills to drive it out before it could take full control. But the incident made one thing clear: the evil wasn't just in Unseo. It was spreading, even during the ritual. Sharon became certain that something much darker was hidden inside the house itself. A deeper force was at work. She focused her senses and directed Bawu to break through one of the walls. What they found behind it was shocking. The inside of the house was covered in strange markings, ancient symbols, shimals, and unknown scripts etched into the very structure. These weren't decorations. They were the source. The house itself had been turned into a vessel of evil. Fueled by rage, Bawu began destroying the carvings. Each strike sent shockwaves through the room. As the symbols shattered, Unseo's body went into violent convulsions. The link was clear. Her possession was tied directly to these markings, and tearing them down was the only way to break the hold. They had reached the final and deadliest stage of the exorcism. The demon inside Unseo fought back harder than ever, chanting powerful counterspells in a direct attempt to overpower Sharon and break the ritual. A fierce spiritual clash erupted, Sharon's years of training and sacred knowledge against a force born from the depths of hell. But the real danger came when the demon shifted its focus to Bawu. It struck where he was weakest: his mind. Trapped in a vivid illusion, reliving past pain and guilt, Bawu lost control. In a moment of blind rage, he nearly attacked Sharon with deadly force. Just in time, he broke free from the trance, stopping himself before it was too late. Shaken but still standing, the team pressed on, more cautious than before. Then came a critical mistake. Overwhelmed by fear for her sister, Youngwon accidentally broke the final salt barrier, the only thing protecting them from a direct attack. The demon seized the moment. It tore free from its restraints, unleashing chaos across the house. In seconds, Unseo disappeared. The team scattered, desperately searching. But the threat didn't fade. It escalated. Dark forces surged in from all sides. Even Gimgun barely made it out alive. Despite all their efforts, the demon's power had barely weakened. Sharon and Bawu realized the truth. Something even darker was still hidden, something untouched. That's when Young-won remembered. The man who once claimed to own the house had said something strange. He mentioned that something powerful was locked away in the shed behind the house. And now, they knew where to look. Without wasting a second, Bawu headed straight for the shed. Beneath it, he uncovered a hidden basement, an old underground shrine once used by the cult. Inside, the room was packed with altars, satanic symbols, and disturbing ritual tools. It was clear, this was the heart of the evil. Bawu didn't hesitate. He charged in, facing off against cult members guarding the shrine. But their numbers were far greater than expected, and they weren't just armed, they were powered by dark forces. As Bawu fought to hold his ground in the tight, suffocating space, one cultist slipped past him and made a run for the house. There, Sharon and the others were caught off guard. With no time to lose, Gimgun stepped up, fighting back with everything he had. He managed to hold off the attacker just long enough for help to arrive. Back in the shrine, Bawu was running out of options. Pushed to the edge, he made a choice. He unleashed the forbidden power still inside him, the demonic force left behind by Lucifer. Tapping into that dark energy and his own brute strength, Bawu launched a brutal counterattack. The force was overwhelming. He crushed the last of the cultists, then sprinted back to the house. He got there just in time. Sharon and Gimgun were down, unconscious from the assault. But the danger was far from over. Without warning, Unseo appeared again, this time more terrifying than ever. Her body trembled with dark energy, but something was different. The cult was gone. The demon inside her had lost its support system. Sharon, barely back on her feet, saw the opening. With fresh determination, she restarted the exorcism. What followed was a brutal spiritual fight. Sharon pushed forward step by step, breaking the demon's hold. Then came the breakthrough. She uncovered the demon's true identity. Moloch, one of the most feared rulers of hell. As Sharon forced most of the demon's energy out, the unthinkable happened. A glowing red portal burst open in the room. The air turned scorching. Darkness flooded the space. And from the edge of the fiery gate, Moloch emerged, towering, monstrous, radiating, unstoppable evil. Now desperate, Moloch tried to drag Unseo back into the portal. Bawu charged in to stop him but was knocked back by a surge of raw power. Hope was slipping away. Then, in a moment of pure instinct, Gimgun acted. He tied himself to both Unseo and Jungwon, using his own body as an anchor, refusing to let the demon pull them into the abyss. Bruised and exhausted, the team refused to back down. With everything they had, they pulled Unseo away from the portal's edge. Then, in one final move, Bawu delivered a devastating punch, so powerful it hit Moloch head-on, driving the demon back and slamming the gate to hell shut for good. Unseo finally woke up. The nightmare was over. The demon was gone. In the final moments, Bawu, Sharon, and Gimgun tracked down the ones who started it all, the fake homeowner and the janitor, loyal servants of the cult. They were hiding at the cult's main base, but there was no escape. Bawu stepped forward and gave them the punishment they deserved. The story closes not in fear, but in victory. So, the moral of the story is, if your house has weird carvings and your sister starts levitating, maybe don't wait for an exorcist or ghost hunter to investigate the situation. Just move out and live in a nice apartment instead.